project, we really wanted to evaluate streaks of failure and streaks of success. And we wanted to delve into whether these streaks of success and failure were real, whether they existed, or whether they were just what we call a cognitive illusion, which is our brain playing tricks on us.
So obviously we can't actually measure the players' emotions directly. You can't really attribute good or bad play to how they're feeling. So we came up with this idea of a good proxy of how they performed on the previous hole. So it's only natural to assume that if a player has a bad hole, such as a double bogey in golf, that must generate some sort of negative feeling or emotion.
We scraped a lot of data regarding performance of golfers in different settings and different tournaments.
So we're able to scrape about 1 million holes of golf off the internet. So it was basically from 2 seasons of golf for the top professionals in males and females in the US Tour. Tiger Woods and Jason Day and Jin Young Ko and Hannah Green and people like that. So all the names you're familiar with. The data was actually from 2016-17.
And then the kind of bulk of the work is just analyzing that using econometric methods, which sounds boring, but is actually quite exciting for us economists, and really trying to tease out the kind of effects that we talked about in terms of, finding out, does bad performance lead to future bad performance, or does good performance lead to future good performances as well?
The main thing we found was that despite the fact that all these professionals have presumably had lots of psychological training on how to handle adversity, there still was a significant carryover from bad results on previous holes onto following holes. So you can still measure the impact of bad play on following play, which we presume is due to negative emotions or a loss of confidence in their play.
It showed that statistically significant cold hand effect. So in terms of, it's not as a golfer is in the zone, it's actually kind of the opposite, where they have a bad performance on one hole can lead to bad performance on the very next hole. So there's some carryover in terms of their emotions that is negatively affecting their future play.
It's just evidence of how confidence you derive from past performance is something that influences your future performance.
This is a kind of smaller contribution to a literature that's been going on for 30, 40 years now. There was a whole strand of literature that said that actually streaks of success and failure weren't real. They were a cognitive illusion. And that was recently, as a few years ago, was disproved statistically by some very smart economists. And we now understand that, the hot hand, the cold hand, being in the zone, being out of the zone, for want of a better word, is real. So we're just trying to add to that kind of literature with our example of golf.
We certainly haven't produced anything which can tell golfers how to play better. If anything, it just justifies and reinforces the importance of sports psychologists. If you look at the top players, not only in golf but in lots of sports, they'll be travelling around with their entourage of coaches and helpers. They'll have, in the case of golf, they'll have a swing coach, physiotherapist, and quite often they'll have a psychologist, right? And that's kind of why they're there. Even at the professional level, we can still see evidence that negative thinking is a bad thing, which does impact on your performance. So that's why it's worth them exploring these psychological strategies to get that last ounce of performance out of their ability.
In terms of great performance in golf, what we kind of find is that the need to have emotional control and to be repetitive in your performance and don't second guess yourself when things are going right and don't try and overcompensate when things are going well. I think that combination of the two factors is key to great performance. So this research can be used to validate the need for sports psychologists in professional settings, right? We know that these performers are already, at the top of their field, but we find evidence that even the best of the best when it comes to golf have on average, some negative carryover in terms of bad performance on holes carrying over to bad performance on subsequent holes.
I think that has carryover to lots of situations outside of sport as well.
Keeping a positive mental attitude when things go wrong.
Well, I was relating to Paul earlier that I think over the last few months I've become a bit of an angry golfer, as the term goes. You habitually remember the highest level that you've achieved. Whenever you don't achieve it, you continually beat yourself up over it, and inevitably that has a negative impact on your following play. So I personally need to take our research findings on board and apply them throughout a 4-hour round of golf.